Bro, I swear to God, there's a bunch of conversations that, like, we just don't want to have because we've had these conversations, like, beat to the ground. But we really got to talk about the Clippers era and how much it failed, dog. How much that Clippers era failed. And shout out to Synthetic Sports. Links to their video will be in the description down below. Friend of the show, right? Let's get into it, man.
So it was announced very, very early Monday morning that Paul George has officially signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. The Clippers actually released their own statement on Sunday saying that he wouldn't re-sign with them. And this brings to the end an era of Clippers basketball where just nothing really happened if you look at it.
This past season, they had that last gasp. Like, it looked like, okay, maybe they were going to contend. And then, like clockwork, Kawhi gets injured. They got out in the first round, and we knew it was over, but I'm surprised they didn't bring Paul George back. But we got to break down just the legacy of nothing. They did nothing for 5 years. So on the 5-year anniversary that I'm acquiring Paul George and Kawhi, let's break it down for you.
That's crazy, Chad, because I know nothing is, like, very hyperbolic, but they really didn't do anything. Like, not Kawhi nor PG didn't even have, like, an MVP season. They didn't make it to the finals. They only made it to the conference finals once, you know? And I just remember hearing when Kawhi Leonard was going to the Clippers and PG's coming with them, like, how big of a deal that was. I messed up that soundboard, but it is what it is. Because I understand, like, we try to revisit the Paul George trade now and how bad it was because of, you know, who SGA has become, how those assets, I think one of the assets ended up being J-Dub and the treasure chest that OKC got, which, you know, I don't think you can look at that and ever say that OKC lost that trade, ever. But in terms of the Clippers side, like, it made sense at that time. It made sense. This was a team trying to win now. This was a team that, if you remember, the season prior was like an overachieving, scrappy team that was 1 or 2 star pieces away. And they somehow, some way, found a way to get the reigning finals MVP at that time. A lot of people thought was the best player in the world, or at the very least top 4, right? And then the other dude who was top 3 in MVP voting himself and was top 3 in DPOY, 2019 Paul George. So I understand we'd like to revise history, but one day we'll have that discussion of, like, that trade. It made sense. It wasn't that bad, bro. It wasn't that bad, bro.
Before we start talking about Kawhi and Paul George's Clippers, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on one of our videos. So like we said in the intro, the Clippers announced on Sunday that Paul George would not be signing a new contract with the team. First of all, I don't know if we've ever seen a situation like this in NBA history where a team announces that one of their players is not going to re-sign with them. I mean, it happens all the time in, like, soccer. I don't think it's ever happened in the NBA. And second of all, like we also said in the intro, this era of Clippers basketball, I mean, it'll get a full retrospective at some point in the future, but talk about an all-time flop.
I mean, they were relevant, at least. I mean, that you can't always say that in Clippers history, but yeah, you're right. This era just sucked. Like, there was the one night we all remember they bring in Kawhi and Paul George, and the haul to trade for Paul George was Shea, Danilo Gallinari.
This infamous graphic, bro. Every time I see the discussion about this trade being had, it's specifically this graphic from Lowe's vid. Ah, God, classic. This is his L Meat, chat. This is his L Meat.
5 first-round picks for their own, one of which hasn't conveyed, one of which was the Jalen Williams trade, then a Miami 2021 and 2023 pick, 2 pick swaps. It is important to keep in mind because we always just see the straight up, oh, this is the worst trade ever. They traded Paul George for all of this. They were getting both players, so keep that in mind. Like, if you're the Clippers at the
because for those who don't remember the sequence of events, Kawhi Leonard literally said that whatchamacallit, if I'm gonna sign with the Clippers, y'all need to get Paul George first. So they got Paul George first, and once Kawhi seen that, he signed with the Clippers. Another similar situation is the Cavs trading the number 1 pick which was Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love. Because for those who don't remember that series of events, LeBron essentially said, yo, I want a big three. So if y'all get Kevin Love, Kyrie's already there. If y'all get K Love, I'm signing. You know what I'm saying? So there's more pieces to that trade, a really big piece to that trade that like people don't want to talk about.
Time you make that trade 10
but that
times
wasn't
out of
really
10,
technically
it didn't pan out, but they were going all in. I mean, for Clippers basketball, they wanted to win that title. LA had AD and LeBron. They needed to compete. The move makes complete sense.
I tell you, as a Blazer fan, at least they fucking tried.
Exactly.
And also what you got to remember is if they hadn't landed Paul George, not only were they not going to land Kawhi, he was probably going to go to the Lakers too.
Yeah.
So you got to prevent that if you're the Clippers. But when this duo was formed, I mean, it was the same summer the Lakers landed AD and the Nets landed Kyrie and KD. And I think most people thought the Clippers were going to be the best of those three teams. I mean, they were a 48-win team before those two even got there.
Yeah, because for me, they had the most continuity out of those three teams being led by those crazy duos. And I also thought that they were just the most well-rounded team. You know what I'm saying? They had Lou Will. They had, I'm blanking on bro's name, the power forward that they got. Montrezl Harrell. I believe they were 2 Six-Man of the Year candidates the year prior. Pat Bev was considered one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. You know what I'm saying? And Doc Rivers, I still had hope in Doc Rivers at that time. So, yeah, man.
Managed to keep most
Landry
of the pieces
Shamet was
from
a
that
shooter
team.
too.
And even throughout that 2020 season, when the Lakers consistently had the better record, a lot of people still thought the Clippers were the better team. I guess maybe it's just because they got the better of them on opening night and on Christmas, you know, two high-profile games.
I mean, those games, like, it felt like they had their number. And while the Lakers did have LeBron and AD, who I think were the better duo, it felt like the Clippers just top to bottom had a better roster and the experience. And of course, in the playoffs that year, we had the bubble and they went out in completely embarrassing fashion to the Nuggets, blowing a 3-1 lead. We've already covered this in past videos. Even more kind of pathetic because the Lakers quickly kind of took care of the Nuggets. I know like they were matched up way better because they had Dwight and AD to handle Jokic and the Clippers really didn't. And in hindsight, if you think about it, that was the one playoff run where both PG and Kawhi were healthy. Like every other year they had an injury. That playoffs, they were mostly healthy and then still couldn't get it done. They got completely embarrassed.
Yeah, every other...
And that's what's so tough about this era is because, bro, outside of that year, Kawhi was injured. And it really, at some point, obviously, I always feel bad for an injured player who's fucking hurting. You know, I'm never going to sit here and say, yo, Kawhi wants to be injured. But at the same token, I can only feel so sorry for a team when it's like, bro, every year, this is what's going on. Like, it's become clockwork that Kawhi is going to go off in the first 2 games and then he just disappears. Like, every year, dog, every single year. You know, this team has championship-level hopes that just get shut down because their best player is not in the lineup. And I think, like, Kawhi and Embiid specifically, they have really changed my viewpoint on, like, the whole better player conversation. Because for me, the better player, as Mickey as it sounds, bro, I gotta take into account availability at this point in time. I got to. That's an attribute of you, is durability. You know what I'm saying? So there's other players in the league who are 90% of the talent you are, hell, even 95. But they're gonna play in the playoffs. They're at the very least gonna play through injury, which I understand, like Kawhi, you don't gotta play through crazy injuries, but I'm just gonna give those guys more of the benefit of the doubt compared to you. You know what I'm saying? Talent-wise, Kawhi, he's undeniable, but in terms of like the conversation of who the better player is or who I'd rather have on my team, I am done not taking into consideration durability, bro. I'm done, bro. I'm done.
Year besides that, something went basically catastrophically wrong. I mean, you run it back the next year, you lose Kawhi to a torn ACL. If he remains healthy, I mean, maybe they could eventually beat Phoenix. Who knows? I mean, they pushed him to 6 without Kawhi. 2022 was basically a wash because Kawhi missed the entire year.
That?
They couldn't even beat the Pelicans in that play-in game. Cost the Blazers a first-round pick.
Ridiculous.
Fucking unbelievable. Paul George just had to get COVID at the worst possible time. And then, like, in 23, PG and Kawhi both missed 25-plus games. Paul George this time misses the playoffs. Still, though, after that game 1 against Phoenix, Kawhi played really well. They took game 1 off the Suns in Phoenix, but Kawhi tears his meniscus, missed the final 3 games of the series, and despite Russell Westbrook playing his heart out, they go down in the first round. But this year, you mentioned it briefly at the beginning, felt like maybe they were finally putting it together. Worth noting, it didn't start out like that, lest we forget that 6-game losing streak immediately after they traded for James Harden.
But they completely pulled things around there. 26-5, you know, they add Harden to the group. They had a deep team. That locked up Kawhi. That was enough for him to sign a 3-year, $153 million extension. And at the time, I was like, okay, so they're probably going to re-sign Paul George. Paul George hadn't inked yet. But to me, it felt like...
I understand insanity is a definition, or doing the same thing over and over again is a definition of insanity. But I do think still it is crazy that they didn't, like, they got James Harden at the beginning of the season, and after 1 year of failure, they effectively just quit on Paul George and that group that they got right there. You know what I'm saying? I think most teams typically give it at least a 2-year shot. But after 1 year, just saying, all right, bro. And Paul George is the dude that y'all don't want to re-sign? And I understand it's because y'all just re-signed Kawhi and James Harden's the new guy on the team, dude. But I'm just saying, I have some sympathy for Paul George because Paul George is the dude that, in my opinion, always got left hanging. Obviously, you know, he had his own underperformances as well. But Paul George was the dude that was there when the season was closing. Paul George was the dude that had to step up and be the number 1 dude. And even though he already came out and said, like, yo, Kawhi's our number 1 dude, he still had to step up and be that guy in those moments. But now the whole flow of the offense is ruined. They, you know, this isn't how they played the whole season, and now I got to play outside of my role. Like, all of these things. I've always felt bad for Paul George in that regard, even though he was underperforming, because you're playing out of character. You're playing out of your role, and it's not necessarily out of your, you know, it's not in your control, you know, so it's tough.
Like, it was inevitable. He was gonna. Fast forward to the playoffs, still finished pretty well. 51 games, cooled off a little bit, matched up against Dallas in the first round. We both picked Dallas, but I mean, the West was just stacked this year, and this series felt like it could have gone either way.
Yeah, it was not unthinkable that the Clippers could win this series.
Yeah.
I mean, they had home court, and they had already beaten the Mavericks in the playoffs twice in a couple of years prior.
Yeah, the big question mark, though, was Kawhi's health going into the playoffs. He ends up missing game 1. He plays the next couple of games, but then after game 3, he gets shut down. Even then, though, I mean, they tie things up after that big game 4 win in Dallas. Could go up 3-2 with a win at home in game 5, take a commanding 3-2 lead, and in true Clippers fashion, just get blown off the court.
I mean, I know the Mavericks have a knack for doing this to teams. They did it to Phoenix. They did it to the Clippers here. They would eventually do it to Minnesota. But good God, you have a...
Not us, though. I'm jogging the victory lap now. All right, I'm jogging the victory lap, but not too much.
Game 5 on your home court, a chance to go up 3-2. You're still very much in this series, and that's the performance you put forward? Unacceptable. Pathetic. And of course, they go down in Game 6 on the road in Dallas, and they bow out in the first round for a second straight year. So this was the year where it felt like the most things went their way. I mean, you get Harden in. It's a little rocky at first, but you eventually figure it out. They had that great stretch in the middle of the season. Over 31 games, they go 26-5. They get the 4 seed. They got home court advantage in the first round. The West is wide open, and you can't even get out of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, every year Kawhi is just injured. It sucks. Kawhi's knees are just shot.
It's not his fault. It's just, it's what he is.
Yeah, exactly. And then the whole offseason was, are they going to extend Paul George? Should they give him the max? Is he worth it? If you're like a team in a normal circumstance where you have all your picks, have the conversation. Why was this a discussion for them? Just lock it. I don't care about the second apron, luxury tax. Steve Ballmer's got the money. You're already fucked. Might as well just double down on it.
And it's like
my only thing is, I guess, being more positive with the Clippers is this may be a less is more scenario where one of the dudes just had to leave for this team to be better. And what I mean by that is, you know, James Harden, without Paul George there, is going to have his ball, the ball more in his hands. I think Kawhi Leonard just having more responsibility offensively might, we might see glimpses, or we may see a version of Kawhi closer to 2019 or 2020 Kawhi. Because, last season Kawhi definitely had his healthiest season as a Clipper in the regular season. But in the regular season, like, Kawhi was still, 24, 6 and 4. Good efficiency. But we all know, like, this isn't top 5 Kawhi. Top 5 Kawhi in our heads is 2017 to 2020 Kawhi. You know what I'm saying? And for that pressure to be on him next season may be a good thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Extended Kawhi,
they
extended Harden, who's fucking worse.
Yeah.
And yeah, they'd go over the second apron, which can trigger a whole bunch of things. It prevents you from building your roster more effectively, could freeze your first-round pick 7 years down the line, but this team's future is already fucked. They don't control their own first-round pick until 2030. Oh no, well, we lost the 2031 pick. We already don't have 25 through 29 anyway. Whatever, you're not gonna re-sign him, that's okay. Why not trade him to the Warriors then? I know it's a division rival, you don't want to strengthen a division rival, but when the alternative is losing him for nothing, I mean, I would have taken CP3, Moody, and a first-round pick, because I think you could probably cut CP3 or at the very...
That was weak from the Clippers. Them not... Because Draymond said it, like, PG wanted to go to Golden State, but the Clippers didn't allow that to happen. Like, they didn't want to do the sign and trade, and that's some whole-ass shit from the Clippers. Like, that is a selfish move from the Clippers. The fact that they would deny themselves assets just so another team does not get better. Which, by the way, just the ideology alone, I don't believe in that. This idea that I would rather not get better as a team so that a rival in the conference or in the division doesn't get better. Because even with the Milwaukee Bucks, because I think the biggest example of this is the Bucks, because a lot of people gave them flack for essentially giving away Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics, or letting Jrue Holiday go to bring in Dame, and now the Boston Celtics have the opportunity to get Jrue Holiday, right? If I believe Damian Lillard is the piece that's gonna make my team better, I am not going to go after Damian Lillard just because I'm scared of the Celtics getting Jrue Holiday. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we saw it perfectly in these playoffs, bro. Matchups make everything in the playoffs, And one team doesn't face this team, now they're facing that team. One team never runs into this team, now you're in the finals. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the Dallas Mavericks were on the side of the conference where the Denver Nuggets were, I don't think they make it to the finals, me personally. Conversely, the Lakers, I think if they were on the other side of the bracket where, again, they didn't face Denver, they may have at the very least made the Western Conference Finals. So, all I'm saying is, at the end of the day, focus on making your team better instead of playing this NBA politics, trying to metagame this league and not making other teams. Like, that's weak as fuck, bro. That's weak as fuck.
Or at least trade him mid-season to get some salary cap relief. You get Moody, who's something, and you get a Warriors first-round pick, which, so long as it's a couple years down the road, is not going to be bad. And they need first-round picks, so why not trade him to the Warriors?
I don't know what the package would have looked like, but they could have got something. That's just a straight-up fact.
It's better than what they got from Philadelphia.
Literally nothing.
I mean, my only guess could be like the Warriors just kicked their ass for so many years they didn't want to deal with them. But I mean, the Warriors with Paul George also aren't doing anything. Like, just make the trade.
And this is business, right? You got to put your emotions out of the way and make the best deal for your franchise.
So yeah, he ends up signing with the 76ers, leaving the Clippers with absolutely nothing. And then again, in true Clippers fashion, they have to just make a pathetic statement where they say Paul George is leaving. They traded a lot to pair Paul and Kawhi together, and in exchange, they got 5 years of contention.
5 years of contention, bro. Jeez.
Are you serious?
I will say this. I think the Clippers getting Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is still, at the end of the day, a net positive for the franchise, because although they went all in on these teams and they were supposed to win it all and they did underachieve, you know, this is one of the teams in the league that, again, was such a laughing stock for such a long time that even just giving their fans some hope, even giving their fans, you know, a level of enjoyment is very important to that franchise. You know, I don't think they regret making those moves at all. Going back to Chris Paul, going back to Blake Griffin, going back to trading for Kawhi and PG. I don't think they regret making those moves, because even if they do keep SGA, even if they do keep all those assets, who is to say that they actually draft J-Dub, right? Who is to say that they actually draft the right player? Who is to say that SGA develops into the player that he's become under the LA Clippers with Kawhi Leonard there, or with Paul, like whoever it is? You know what I'm saying? So I think the reason why everyone is so harsh on this is because we are so results-oriented when it comes to judging moves. But in terms of the process, there really is nothing to regret when it comes to this move, in my opinion. There really is nothing to regret in terms of the thought process of, yo, we just won 48 games the season prior. We pushed the 2019 Golden State Warriors to 6 games, right? We got a bunch of role players. We are just 1 or 2 star pieces away. We're able to get these stars through free agency and through just letting go of SGA, essentially, while keeping Pat Bev, while keeping Montrezl Harrell, while keeping Lou Will. Like, that process made sense. You know what I'm saying? So, not too much on the Clippers. I ain't gonna lie.
Which also really isn't true.
It's not true. Keep this in mind. The Dame and CJ Blazers made it just as far as the Clippers ever did with Paul George and Kawhi. And like, what's the Clippers' future at this point? I mean, you're stuck with Kawhi and Harden for the next 2 years, who are both aging and are both injury prone. Their cap situation is still pretty precarious. They have legitimately 0 good assets to upgrade this roster with. This is my thing. It's like, why not re-sign Paul George? The future of this team is already f***ed. You might as well just go all in with what you have now and see if you can pull off a miracle and win a title with this core.
There's got to be something with these second aprons or something we don't know, or just the luxury. I really don't know, because I understand not blowing it up. You don't have the picks. You're going to this new arena. You don't want an empty arena in Los Angeles. Like, that just isn't a smart move.
And Kawhi and Harden aren't going to get you good value anyway.
Yeah, but I don't get not re-signing Paul George. Like, I'm just struggling to get it. Like, I know he's not worth the contract. A 38-year-old Paul George making $50 million. That's going to be egregious, but you're already screwed. Like, we're not talking about a normal position. We're talking about the damn Los Angeles Clippers, who right now are just they have no good young players. Like, Terrence Mann was that one dude they were hanging on to because he's their only like somewhat young player. And what, he's like 27 or 28 at this point.
I mean, people keep calling him young, but he's getting,
really isn't.
He's approaching 30.
Yeah, they are really stuck. I don't know. I heard like some DeMar DeRozan buzz, maybe. I guess.
Not anymore.
They still got Brody. We haven't mentioned
the Brody.
Yeah,
rumors are out though that he's leaving too.
Yeah, Nuggets are trying to get him, so they are not in a good position. And let's kind of talk about how is this Clippers team gonna be remembered, because I think we both agree on this. It's kind of like the Lob City era, but less highlights, more missed games, and just somehow even more pathetic.
More forgettable too. I mean, they're gonna be remembered for that 2020 collapse, of course, but I think people are gonna look back more fondly on the Lob City Clippers because, like you said, more exciting to watch. But number 2, that was really the first time in franchise history that the Clippers had any modicum of success. Yeah, they had a couple seasons here and there where they maybe made the playoffs. I think in 2005 they made it to the second round, or 2006, one of those years. But that was like the first time they had any kind of sustained success. This team,
those teams were fun,
yeah, they were okay. They were good. They were notable. They were talked about, but they really didn't do anything.
I mean, their legacy is injuries, playoff failures, early playoff exits. That's literally it. Like, there's nothing really positive.
To be fair, though, I feel like we're having a mid-off, but
I'll tell you what, their legacy is a question. What if the Clippers were healthy?
Yeah, I guess.
That is their legacy. It's going to be one of history's great what ifs. Like, what if the Clippers were healthy? But other than that, they basically leave a legacy of nothing. That's the video, guys.
Which is so tough, bro. Which is so tough. The only legacy that they would have would just be the continuation of keeping the Clippers a serious franchise. And that's literally it. Like, what the post said about Paul George, it was hey, we'll never forget 4 to 5 years of contention. Like, that's it. Because did it really change the culture for the Clippers? No. Did they win? No. Did they set up, you know, like they literally gave up their future for this team and it came up short, you know? But again, I just don't really blame them for any of the moves that they made truly. Like even the James Harden trade, hey, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like I just had a problem with that move because of continuity, and in terms of bringing in this big asset at the beginning of the season. But like I don't know. This Clippers team, it is the end of an era, but it technically isn't over because I don't think it's over until Kawhi leaves. Like for real. I don't think there's a truly new Clipper culture until Kawhi leaves. But we'll see. James Harden, low key, the ball's in your court. You are gonna make or break this this franchise. But with that being said, once again, Synthetic Sports video will be in the description, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.